Hey. This is your girl, Ashley Michelle, and you are visiting the ladies' room. We have our lady, Mrs. Cannon Hill. We have Mrs. Jovo and Mr. Darwin Hill. All right, y'all. How y'all doing tonight?
We are great. We are
Yes, I'm
great.
awesome.
I'm doing good.
Yep,
Excited
yep,
about
yep,
these
yep.
topics tonight.
I am too. I am too. All right. So, welcome to the ladies' room, everybody out there. Thank you all for joining us. We talk about everything from dating and relationships and marriage to parenting and current events, in popular media today. And we love to hear from you guys too. So chime in, come visit us, hear what we have to say. But later on in the show, we take callers and you can even come on screen with us and share your 2 cents as well. For those of you who are watching, go ahead and hit the like button and tap the subscribe button and the share button. Share it with all your friends through Messenger, through text message, and on Facebook. We want more people to chime in, come in with us, and talk about these issues. All right. We like to jump right into the show. Okay. Our first topic is why should or should not a woman propose to a man? Why should or should not a woman propose to a man? We've seen this quite a few times. Recently, we saw Rick Ross's lady propose to him. I wasn't quite sure if that was real or if she was a fan proposing or pretending to propose. I wasn't sure if that was his real lady or what. But it's something that has definitely happened and I want to know what you guys have to say about it. What should or why should or should not a woman propose to a man? Who likes to go
Hmm.
first?
I could kick it off.
All right.
For me, some of these social norms and things like that are really kind of arbitrary. Um,
Okay.
and I mean, a lot of things have a place. The main thing that I believe keeps women from proposing to a man or doing that would be, tradition. Because traditionally, not only is a man seen as the one who should do the proposing, but women are also generally criticized for being too forward or uh, will be considered not feminine enough for making the first move. Like they're more expected to just sit around and kind of wait for that to happen as opposed to making it happen, because then they're also criticized as being like too pushy or trying to trap a man or trying to get him and force him to do something. um so that's traditionally the way that it's seen, but I think that with a lot of the young generation coming up, I just don't think that they necessarily view things the same way that we have in the past. So I think that they're a lot more used to, they're a lot more open to doing things in a less traditional manner. And that I see as one of them. Now, like for me personally, the way that I grew up, I wouldn't do it because of the way that I grew up, right? And my attitudes, but I'm still aware that that's just based on the time frame and the social norms of the time from when I grew up. But since those attitudes and the social norms around that is changing, women are going to be doing that more often, and it's going to become more normal, I believe. Like over the next couple generations, it won't be as taboo or as odd as it is for us. So I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, especially when you think about the fact that social attitudes are changing. Then it won't have the same connotations that it would have had in the past.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents.
All right. I definitely have a follow up question, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from Mrs. Jovo. What do you think?
So the reason why I think, I agree with a lot of what Cannon said. A lot of us are taught these traditional um, social norms, these traditional things that just from generation to generation. You just see a norm and you assume that, okay, that's how things should go. However, the beef I have with the woman who proposes is she cannot propose and then they get married and then later on down the line make comments like, well, you're supposed to be the leader of the house, or you're supposed to be leading us or guiding us. You need to step up, quote unquote, be a man. And I've actually seen this happen. I've actually seen this happen. I have seen women manipulate themselves into situations to where either the man is manipulated to propose to them, or they propose to the man, and then later in marriage or early in marriage, like that early middle part, oh, well, he doesn't want to step up. He doesn't want to lead us. He doesn't want to guide us. He doesn't want to be, quote unquote, the man. Well, I mean, how can he lead and guide when you're manipulating and you're leading everything? You started this off. You popped off the whole marriage. That's my thing. And then I am traditional in the sense of I think the man should do the proposing, because if you can't say, well, I want him, so I'm going to propose to him, and then turn around and say, well, he needs to act like he wants me. You're not giving him a chance. And then, and some ladies might get upset when I say this, a lot of women, especially in these newer times, they are proposing to men off of this impulse, this urge that they need to satisfy. They see what society expects of them. You have that situation where they've been together for X amount of years. Maybe they were in high school together. Maybe they were in college together, or they just been together for a long time. Maybe there's a child involved, and he is not popping the question, or he has a different idea of marriage than she might have, and they're just like together. They cohabitating, whatever. Okay. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, let me just nudge him a little bit. Let me start talking about it. And then, okay, he's talking about it, but he's still not moving. Okay, well, then let me propose to him. The best example I could probably give you, rapper Jim Jones and his fiance, or maybe they're secretly married and they kind of milking this for the TV exposure. I don't know. But they've been in a relationship forever. She's proposed like what, twice? Once, twice? And they're still right back where they started. So I'm just, I wouldn't do it, but I'm not surprised that women are doing it. But my, I guess, follow up question for them is, how do you expect him to lead when you popped it off in the first place? That's how I think and feel about it.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Jovo. And what about you, Darwin?
So I got some pushback for you, Miss Jovo, but I get to that. But I don't see nothing wrong with a woman proposing. I actually think sorry. I actually think women should probably propose a little bit more. Um, for the simple fact that more women are being raised to want marriage. So why wouldn't you propose? If you want a marriage, go after it and get it. If a man is taking too long, and if you feel like that's a good man, um, then I don't see nothing wrong with you proposing. It's I mean that's what you want, right? So go ahead and do it. I don't feel like the man leadership skills has devalued because she kicked it off. That's just something she desired more than him at the time, and he might that might propel him to get ready for marriage, and it might not. I mean, both parties have the same urge to want to please each other. So a woman can propose just for the sake of pleasing the man, and the man, I think most of the time they do the same thing, especially when they're in some type of doghouse. You know what I'm saying? So I think it could be it's wrong reasons to propose on both ends, and it's right reasons to propose on both ends. So I think it's totally mutual.
All right. Well, I have a couple questions. So I wanted to ask you, Cannon, and you, Darwin, since you all have a similar viewpoint. What could the worst what is the worst thing that could happen? What are some of the consequences? I know Jovo mentioned one, but what are some of the consequences of a woman proposing?
I think that is only as far as, like I said, some of the societal things. And that's why I said that I see it changing more so with the up and coming generation, because they don't behave the same way we do, and they don't view things the same way that we do. So the things that Ms. Jovo mentioned are a lot of the stereotypes that I was talking about, that a woman who's proposing, she's doing it out of desperation because she's trying to push him to do it, all of these other things, even from the point of view of that leadership idea, to say, oh, now he can't be the leader the way that I'm perceiving it because I started the marriage. That's like more of a religious, like I say, older school mentality of even that leader, follower, submissive, whatever, head of the household, whatever. All of those things are older ideas. And as we get older, like I say, the younger generation, when you're talking to a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they don't see things that way. They're not like, oh, he has to be the leader. Like, that's not how they're thinking. So I think that as there is a shift, right? I think that the first ones in general to kick it off socially are going to bear the brunt of the fact that socially, the opinion hasn't shifted enough for the behaviors to line up. And what I mean by that is like right now, even though the ideas are shifting, right now you probably run the risk of being seen as emasculating the man, even if he if he may have been okay with it, but since socially it's still not where you would want it to be, he could feel pressure or be like, oh, she emasculated me, like, nah, I'm like, I'm not a man no more, or whatever. And so that could cause issues in a relationship and stuff like that. But I think that that's more so, again, with us older, like our generation, older, whatever. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case with the younger ones coming up, and the ones after them. I just don't think that they're viewing relationships and viewing gender roles and viewing all those things the same way we did. Like, look at how even more accepting they are of like gender roles and homosexuality, just all of these different things that they're way more accepting about, that they're growing up with, that we didn't. So of course we're gonna have all of these all these preconceived notions, and it'll play out that way within our relationships. But the younger ones, like I said, they don't view it the same way. So it's really, it's not gonna play out the same way. It'll just be seen as, like he said, a more mutual situation where it's like, well, I want to get married, let me go for what I want or whatever. And just like even one of the points that Ms. Jovo brought up, when she said, well, a lot of women are like, well, I want him to desire me. That's true. But men like to be desired too. And I think that that's something that gets lost in the sauce a lot of time as well. And us as women, a lot of time, don't even pay attention to that or think about that. There is that perception that we need to be chased, we need to be pursued, we need to do all of these things. And we don't ever think or consider on the other end that this other person wants to feel desire as well. And what that may look like from person to person can be totally different. So as we, like I said, as our minds shift and we not stuck in these narrow boxes so much, I don't think that there'll be as large implications. But as of right now, just like you stated, we are totally guided by the way we grew up, the things we were taught, the things that we saw. So I think that in our generation and before that, it can lead to more issues in a relationship just because of those strict boxes that we have in our mind. But the younger generation is not growing up